When 1,000 Pounds Sisters first premiered in January 2020, most viewers tuned in to follow the journey of Amy and Tammy Slaton, two sisters from Kentucky striving to reclaim their lives through bariatric surgery. Their story was compelling from the very beginning, two women battling not only their own weight struggles, but also the emotional and physical hurdles that came with making such a monumental life change. From Amy's risky pregnancy after her surgery to Tammy's near-death experience with lung failure, the show painted a vivid portrait of the highs and lows of transformation. While much of the attention was on the sisters, it quickly became clear that their journey was not theirs alone. The Slaton sisters leaned heavily on their siblings, Amanda Halterman, Misty Wentworth, and Chris Combs, for support, guidance, and sometimes a much-needed dose of tough love. Among these siblings, Chris had a quieter presence in the early seasons, but there was an undercurrent of determination and resilience in him that would eventually make him a fan favorite. Chris was born into a family that loved fiercely, but had its own complexities. Growing up in Kentucky, he was close with his sisters, particularly Amy and Tammy, but like many families, there were moments of tension and disagreement. He had always been aware of his weight challenges, but the full scope of the impact didn't truly hit him until adulthood. Weighing 450 pounds, Chris found himself facing a harsh reality. He needed to make a change, not just for himself, but for the family he loved. He worried about his ability to keep up with his wife, Brittany, and their children, and he feared that his health struggles could rob him of precious time with future grandchildren. There was a sense of urgency in his realization that life would not wait. Chris understood that if he wanted to see milestones, birthdays, graduations, weddings, he needed to act. Even as he considered his options, Chris had his doubts. He had witnessed Amy and Tammy's transformations and was inspired by their successes, but the path they had taken was far from easy. Bariatric surgery, he knew, was not a magic fix. It required discipline, commitment, and an unwavering dedication to change one's lifestyle. At first, Chris struggled with the idea of following a strict diet and exercise regimen, and there were moments when he questioned whether he had the strength to endure such a demanding journey. But the desire to be present for his family outweighed his fears. Watching his sisters battle their own challenges, he found motivation in their resilience, drawing strength from their victories and learning from their setbacks. Before making the leap towards surgery, Chris spent years trying to make incremental changes. He experimented with diets, tried exercising, and explored various health programs, but nothing seemed sustainable. His weight fluctuated, his confidence ebbed and flowed, and frustration often threatened to overshadow his determination. There were mornings when he felt defeated, evenings when he doubted his own commitment, and nights when he questioned if he could ever achieve the transformation he craved. Yet, even in the face of setbacks, there was a quiet determination within him, a spark that refused to be extinguished. Chris knew that for every challenge, there was a way forward, and for every failure, a lesson to be learned. His turning point came when he finally consulted with a bariatric specialist. The evaluation process was rigorous, involving detailed assessments of his physical health, medical history, and mental preparedness. Chris was confronted with the stark reality of what his weight meant for his long-term health. Heart disease, diabetes, joint issues, and a shortened lifespan were all risks he had to consider. The doctor made it clear that surgery would not be a cure-all. It would be a tool, one that required active engagement and personal responsibility. Chris absorbed every word, realizing that this was not just about losing pounds, it was about gaining life. The stakes were high, but so was his motivation. Once he was approved for surgery, Chris's journey truly began. He meticulously followed the preoperative requirements, adhering to strict dietary guidelines, gradually increasing physical activity, and preparing both mentally and emotionally for the life-altering procedure ahead. The support of his family during this period was invaluable. Amy and Tammy offered guidance based on their own experiences, while Amanda and Misty provided encouragement and accountability. Brittany stood steadfastly by his side, offering unwavering support and love. It was a collective effort, a family united not just by blood, but by shared commitment to change. Surgery day brought its own mix of anxiety and anticipation. Chris described the experience as simultaneously frightening and exhilarating. The operating room was a place of both hope and trepidation, and as he awoke from anesthesia, he began to sense the magnitude of what he had undertaken. Recovery was not easy. The first weeks were marked by discomfort, fatigue, and the adjustment to a drastically changed digestive system. But with each passing day, Chris noticed small victories, more energy, lighter movement, and glimpses of a body beginning to respond positively to his efforts. The initial weight loss was encouraging, but Chris quickly realized that the journey was far from over. One of the most difficult aspects of his transformation was coping with loose skin. Rapid weight loss often left behind excess skin, which could interfere with mobility and exercise. Chris approached this challenge with a mix of humor and determination. "I kind of look like a flying squirrel," he joked, turning a potentially discouraging situation into a moment of levity. Despite the inconvenience, he refused to let it derail his progress. He set clear goals for himself, determined to shed additional pounds and qualify for skin removal surgery. His approach was methodical, consistent workouts, careful attention to nutrition, and small, measurable milestones that kept him motivated. Beyond the physical challenges, Chris's journey was also deeply emotional. Watching his body change, learning to navigate social situations differently, and adjusting to a new self-image were all part of the process. He began to understand the profound connection between mind and body, recognizing that transformation was as much about mindset as it was about weight. His sisters provided insight, encouragement, and at times, tough love, helping him confront old habits and reinforcing new, healthier patterns. Brittany's presence was particularly grounding, offering both emotional stability and unwavering support. Chris's story was also one of resilience in the public eye. As a cast member of 1,000-Pound Sisters, he had to navigate the pressures of reality television, balancing his private struggles with the demands of a show that documented intimate aspects of his life. There were moments of vulnerability, instances of doubt, and times when the camera captured his rawest emotions. Yet, Chris handled these moments with a blend of humor, honesty, and humility, endearing himself to fans who appreciated his authenticity. Over time, viewers grew to admire not only his transformation but also his personality, the way he could laugh at himself, lift the spirits of those around him, and protect his family with quiet strength. Even in the earliest seasons, Chris demonstrated a protective and caring nature toward his sisters. He was there for Amy during her emotional divorce from Michael Halterman, providing support when she needed it most.